Tons of movies. Tanu Weds Manu. Fantastic job. We loved her in the films. And now she's here to join us and throw light on her opinion of what she thinks about this. All right. Up next, we have... Sorry, you'll have to give me a moment. Well. Up next, we have Sridhar Rangayan. Yes. A huge round of applause for him. He's a writer, director, and activist. His films on the LGBT issues have pushed the boundaries of independent cinema. He's also the festival director of Kashish in Mumbai, and it has become an important event in Mumbai's cultural calendar. Ladies and gentlemen, Sridhar Rangayan. Well, we already have Rikhil out there, who's the director of Time Out, and we'd also like to invite on stage the actor who we've seen in the trailer out here, who plays the older brother. Well, that's Pranay Panchori. Panchori, yes, that happens. All right. I'd also like to invite on stage Miss Amisha Davra. Well, she has done her PhD in research and development, and she's a scholar and a counselor. And she's also very pretty. And last but... Whoopsie! All right. Okay. Last but certainly not the least, we have Miss Ekta Dharia. Huge round of applause for her. Well, Ekta is a clinical psychologist and a... Wow, this is a tough word, guys. You got to just give me some time, yeah? She's a psychotherapist, wow, working with school Gundecha Educational Academy for the last 7 years. And she also privately practices, and the name of her center is Reflection. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel for this afternoon. All right. Okay, so we have a couple of mics that we're going to be sharing. So I'm going to give one to you and one to you. Okay, so let's begin this panel discussion. I'm going to throw this question open to anyone who'd like to answer this. And our first question for today is, are we as a society very intolerant towards people with different opinions and choices? Let's start with you, Swara, since you have the mic.
I think that I would sadly have to agree. I think that there is a pretty genuine problem of tolerance in our society, and it's only growing. And I think it's very strange because India is and has always been a multicultural, multilingual, multi-ethnic, multiracial, I mean, how many ever multis you can think of, all that, India has always been that. That has been the birth and genesis of this civilization. Not from now, from, you know, the Indus Valley times onwards. So it's strange. Increasingly, while our phones are getting smarter and our shopping malls are getting, you know, fancier and our roads are getting, well, not wider, but whatever. Our cars are getting more in number, but as a people, we are becoming more and more intolerant of very simply being able to live with difference in our society. It could be difference of culinary habits, as this meat ban controversy is showing us. It could be difference of thought, worldview, sexuality, I mean anything. So I think that it's a sad truth about our society.
Right. Tehseen, would you like to add to that?
Well, I agree with most of what Swara said. First of all, good afternoon, everybody, and Nikhil, congratulations. Your movie looks fantastic. Congratulations. Yeah, and I hope it does really well. And that's 10% of the that we decided. Now, we have a deal, 10% of what he makes for me coming down. But anyways, I agree with... Sorry?
Do we share profits and losses?
No, only profits. Listen, I'm half in politics. I don't give nothing. But no, I agree with what Swara said. As a society, when you look back at India, it is the most diverse society in the world. I think the only other country that comes close to being as diverse as India is the United States of America. And like the United States of America, India is mostly a country of immigrants. Now, it's a country that over centuries, with the culture that we have, has been so diverse, so tolerant, so different. Unfortunately, the same diverse culture is being misrepresented to bring about the so-called bans, to bring about hate, to bring about violence, to bring about all sorts of, and violence is not just physical, even mental violence. I just read this morning on the flight, the Shiv Sena said now that rickshawalas have to speak Marathi or they won't be allowed. I mean, the fact is, you're moving towards, instead of becoming a globalized country, instead of becoming a globalized city, which Mumbai is, but I'm talking on a macro level on India, you started to people. And I don't think India as a society, as a race, we are intolerant. I think it's the few who are intolerant, but they get space in media. And the majority of us who are tolerant do not raise our voice against it. And I don't want to, it's not about me, but when this officer called Dhoble was moral policing and arresting women, the amount of calls I got from Mumbai police not to take action against him and the amount of pressure that is built up, I don't understand. And the liberal voices in Mumbai, the liberal voices in India, refuse to speak up. And therein comes the problem. The problem is not the society just becoming intolerant. It's the majority who are liberal not speaking up against what is going on, the intolerance. I think therein is the problem. And that sadly is what started happening in Germany. Nobody spoke up when they went for the socialists. Nobody spoke up when they went for the Jews. Nobody spoke up when they went for the handicapped. Nobody spoke up when they went for the gays. And ultimately, nobody was there to speak up and they came after me. Unfortunately, the majority is not speaking up. Therein is the problem.
We have a bunch of people here who are very opinionated. Is there any other reason why we as we are not speaking up against issues that most certainly need our attention?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Professor Amisha Davda, associated with Xavier's College, Mitibai, and NMIMS University. And currently, I'm pursuing my PhD in digital marketing, where I also look out for this kind of issues. One of the major reasons I find is when you want to voice your opinion at times, people are not going to support you. That is one of the reasons, like, you want to just keep quiet and like you suppress your thoughts. So this can be a very critical, there can be a lot of critical factors in this case. I have a suggestion to this. There can be a portal online and where you can invite a lot of ideas through crowdsourcing techniques, and that ideas can be a win-win situation, I think, so that can really help out the society. Thank you so much.
Well, that's a great suggestion. We all mostly just talk about the problems. We have one solution here. That's great. All right.
All right. I, of course, obviously would be talking particularly about LGBT rights. In India, what I see is I think India is so diverse, as we've been talking, that we actually still live in the 16th and the 21st century at the same time when you see the villages or the smaller cities and the metros. When we talk about tolerance in the metros, we perceive that there's a lot of tolerance, but in fact it's not. But when you go to a smaller town, you think they're intolerant, but actually there's much more tolerance. So in terms of LGBT community as such, okay, over the last, in 2009, I don't know how many of you know, Section 377 was read down. Section 377, which kind of criminalizes homosexuality. After that, from 2009 to 2013, there has been a lot of visibility of younger people coming out and being who they are and claiming for their own space in terms of, I am an LGBT person, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm transgender, and that's really encouraging. But what was a dampener was the 2013 Supreme Court verdict, which kind of reversed everything back. And now, in fact, we see actually a lot more intolerance coming out, because what happened is now you have this bunch of younger people who have come out, and they've said so, that now for them to be branded as a criminal again, and their parents are now questioning, parents are questioning, okay, you have come out, so what is your status now? Are you a criminal? Who are you going to marry? There's absolutely no status for you anymore. So that kind of a pressure by parents, I think it's immense at this point of time. And that also is supported by a larger kind of, I would say, the governmental, the kind of decisions the government is taking across board. I don't know, just a small diversion is basically also government cut off all the funding for HIV/AIDS intervention. Now what also, because of that, during this time actually we had started a lot of community-based organization. We started around 150 community-based organizations during the earlier time, and all these community-based organizations just survived on money to run HIV programs and also thereby did LGBT support. Now all of them actually have the threat of being closed down. So where will the LGBT people go to find any support? So that's actually the point now in terms of the way things are moving.
Well, Sridhar, you mentioned the role of